Hey guys, it's a market update. The price action for Bitcoin feels absolutely abysmal right now, and certainly, coming down, trying to test this 100K level doesn't feel good, right? And so everyone's worried, everyone gets flooded out of their bags. It's strange because yes, we do have this kind of downtrend here, which you can see, but within that we have 2 all-time highs. So it's a bit strange, right? The reality is the market is just going through a consolidation period. Right? We had the ETFs and all that and the big move, and now we just don't have that anymore. And there's nothing on the horizon to change. The other thing is the government shutdown in the US is absolutely dire, right? And it's not being covered in the mainstream media or the financial media because they're both left-leaning. And politics aside, the Republicans want the government open, the Democrats don't. All the press is left-leaning, so they're not going to cover it. This is the reason why Bitcoin is struggling, right? Depends how you calculate it, it's anywhere from 30 to 40% of GDP in the US is government spending. So if the government shuts down and no one's getting paychecks, this is absolutely abysmal, right? It's absolutely terrible and it's not getting covered at all. So if people don't get their paychecks, then the economy is going to suffer. All of the economic data we look at, GDP, liquidity, spending, everything else, sentiment, it's all going to go through the floor and it's not being covered in the press. So everyone's trying to figure out why this is happening. Bitcoin is extremely sensitive to this type of stuff. Still above 100, right? So there's still buyers here, but it's going to be weak until that gets sorted out. Is it going to get sorted out after the New York elections? Who knows, right? But it is the issue, and it's not being covered. You can see SOFR spreads as well. This is like overnight funding. It's getting a little bit tight. The Treasury is locked down. They can't really do anything. The Fed isn't moving. It's almost like they want a crash. They want the social cover to then cut rates and print money if they need to. They're not going to do anything before it happens. Too late, Powell. He's never going to, pre-run something. He's always going to wait for it to happen. That's just how he works, right? So that's it. You're just in a very immediate situation, which is absolutely 100% negative for BTC, yet we're still over 100K. I just think that this sorts itself out. And the Fed are ending QT in December. They said they might not cut in December, but they're going to cut in December. Of course they are, right? They're just trying to manipulate behavior and just soften everything. Markets are absolutely screaming higher because of the Mag 7, right? They are spending all of their cash. They're actually going, Meta and Google both raising debt recently as well. They are absolutely smashing money into the market there. And the indexes like the NASDAQ and the S&P are up simply because of those. I'll show you some data in a second. The rest of the S&P is nowhere. There is a K-shaped economy with hyperscalers pushing markets higher, and the rest of the market is absolutely smashed because of the interest rates are way too high. No one can fund themselves, right? Small and medium-sized businesses can't get overnight financing. They can't get inventory loans and everything else. SOFR spreads are blowing out. High interest rates for short-term debt, which you need as a business, right? Because you have to raise money like that. So let's say 4% for the overnight rate, blowing out a little bit, plus your spread on top. No one can do any business. And the Fed's still mucking around saying, well, we might not cut interest rates. So that's the problem, right? We're in a situation right now. They need to, end the government shutdown. They need to get some liquidity into markets. They need to drop interest rates if they want the economy to recover again. But maybe they don't want it to recover right now. Maybe they actually want to deflate a little bit right now to give them cover to then go harder later on. That's where we are. Look, if rates are too high, which they are, and the Fed is too late, which they are, then I'm going to stay in my positions because the next move is down for them, not up. So the next move is dovish for them, not hawkish, I believe. So if the next move is dovish, I think that's going to play okay for BTC. We just have to wait. If the next move from the Fed was hawkish, I'd be worried. But it's not going to be because look at the data, look at the government shutdown is going to affect all this data negatively. I've updated the crypto course and I've put a 20% discount here as well. So if you type BTC at checkout, you get 20% off. You get free updates forever and new videos for free forever. You can check out that via the link in the description. And Bybit deposit bonus if you trade crypto up to $30,000. Just click that link. If you're a new user, you can go through, deposit anything. They'll give you a deposit bonus to trade with. Even though we're in a dollar bull market for Bitcoin this year, because we're up 17%, ultimately 17% is a really bad underperformance year, right? At 125 going to 150, that would be a good year. At 100 looking potentially to break 100, that's the difference. 50% is the difference between a great bull market year and a disaster essentially for Bitcoin, right? Because we're being outperformed by the S&P right now and NASDAQ. S&P and NASDAQ are being held up by the top 10 names. I'll show you that data in a second. The rest of the economy is getting absolutely destroyed by the Fed. Interest rates are way too high. No one can get overnight financing. The spreads are blowing out. It's not a good situation. That may change over the next few months, right? That may change over the next few months. It's certainly not going to get worse in terms of the Fed saying we're going to raise. How can they raise when the real economy is going through the floor? They're trying to control the stock market, maybe. You can't control the hyperscalers. They don't care about interest rates. They can raise any amount of debt possible from outside of the US, anywhere else. They can sell equity, right? So they don't care about interest rates. The Fed is killing the real economy. Now, Bitcoin also has just this 100K consolidation, which we're still not out of, right? 100K is the level where every single person that was going to take some off the table is doing so. The TradFi found the price. They called it up to 50 and 75. Then I've called it up to 100. That's where everyone wants to sell. You can see that, right? Look at the sell side pressure. It's massive, absolutely massive. Don't worry about this, right? For every seller, there's a buyer on the other side. TradFi is saying, yeah, we're happy to pay 100. Oh, you've been flooded out your bags? We'll just call it down to 95. You want to sell some here? They've actually got a long-term time horizon. They're not selling, right? They're buying. Their time horizon starts now for their 10, 15, 20 years. So 100K is their base. But of course, we've been in Bitcoin a lot longer, right? And so a lot of people want to get out now. That's absolutely fine. And if 100K is your level, then 100K is your level, right? Don't worry about selling. For every seller, there's a buyer. Selling always occurs when the price goes up. That's the whole point. Buyers call the price up to get you to sell. But there's another way to get you to sell, which is to fudge you out your bags and just, get the price coming down, some news stories trying to fudge you out. That's a great way to get some Bitcoin as well, right? These are the games that happen. If you're not trading, it doesn't matter. If you've got spot Bitcoin, it doesn't matter. But look, as the price rises, that's when the ETFs come in and buy. They're just not buying right now. The government is shut down. It's kind of risk off a little bit, except for the Mag 7 who are pushing all markets higher and distorting the reality, which is markets aren't doing great right now. We're just kind of bumbling along. So yes, some capitulation from short-term holders as well. That typically actually marks the start of the bottom in this bull market. If we're still in a bull market, I think we are, because the bull market for me is the Fed becoming more dovish. That's a bull market. And so I think that's what they're going to do. And so I think this is a dip within a bull market. Are the Fed going to get hawkish as their next step? I doubt it. They could. Something bad could happen. But my base case is Fed gets more dovish. That could also mean that GDP or economic figures get really bad. Unemployment starts to spike. The market panics. Bitcoin goes down to 80K, and then they start printing money because they have to bail things out again. That could also happen. But for me, that's a bull market. Right? For me, it's not short-term volatility that creates a bull or bear market. It's simply the Fed being hawkish or dovish. I think the next move for the Fed is dovish, even if economic data gets very bad. Their move is even more dovish, right? So I think we're still in a bull market because the next move of the Fed is going to be a dovish move, even if it's slow or faster, depending on how the market reacts and economic data comes out. So you've got sellers, but that means that prices are rising, actually, because sellers actually disappear when prices are falling. And you've got short-term holders capitulating because it's just sideways, absolute nightmare. But I think we're still in a bull market. I think the Fed, the next move is dovish. So I can just wait through this. And that's what I'm going to be doing. Trades are still on, still dollar cost averaging long-term Bitcoin. If you've been in crypto any length of time as well, you know that if Bitcoin goes sideways, altcoins will always collapse. The bid just disappears out of them, risk-taking completely disappears, and that's what's happening. Bitcoin's 17% up, and it's basically a sideways move for 12 months. Altcoins have collapsed. They always do this when Bitcoin goes sideways. What you need is Bitcoin going up in order for altcoins to go up, and then the alt season is Bitcoin still is going up, and altcoins just get this bid up, hugely higher. Look, it's a different market now. Where is the money coming from to bid up all of these altcoins? Right, you've got institutional money coming into Bitcoin. It's not going to be rotating into altcoins or meme coins or anything like that. It's just not going to be doing that. That ETF capital is not going to be coming in there, right? Institutional capital is going towards normal companies, right? Like Circle, trying to get the Tether IPO, all of the other IPOs, right? The real money, that real institutional money, is going towards normal companies that on the stock market, Coinbase, Robinhood, right? They're not bidding altcoins. The only people that bid altcoins are retail investors. Bitcoin's going sideways. They're not going to bid up altcoins. So that's just the way it is. From most research I've done in crypto, most people seem to own mostly altcoins. And Bitcoin's basically flat. The rest is just going to melt away. That always happens when Bitcoin is flat. It just is. So you have to wait for Bitcoin to go up again. Sentiment is bad because look at the relative supply of altcoin profits compared to Bitcoin, right? There is no institutional bid coming for altcoins. Some have had ETFs. So that's great. But as we know with Bitcoin, what are ETFs? They're exit liquidity, right? That's the whole point. Especially with altcoins, you have VCs in there, right? So what they're looking to do, they're looking to get out of their bags. because the whole point of a VC investment is you get in, you wait like 5, 6, 7, 10 years to actually get your liquidity. An ETF is basically an IPO for that, where they have some capital that they can sell into, right? If you're a VC and you own like 7% of the Solana supply, you can't sell that to retail, right? There's like, as soon as you start selling them, the price is going to crash 50%. So you have to wait for the ETFs. ETFs aren't bullish. They're a liquidity event. They're a sellout event. They're maybe bullish long term, but not right now, especially when Bitcoin's going sideways. So to say they're bullish is, look, it's not true in the short term. Maybe in the long term if there's an institutional bid that wants to buy those, but that's not been confirmed yet. I would say that there's a confirmation of Bitcoin and ETH slightly less, that you've got these long-term bids, but not for the other coins as yet. I've not seen much, right? You get some liquidity there, but it's not a huge amount. Maybe great for long-term, right? Because you need to distribute the coins and get the network more decentralized. I get that. But it's a liquidity event right now. When Bitcoin's going sideways, those ETFs aren't going to be bullish for the price. Shrimp inflows, retail's disappeared. Altcoins are going down. It's not good. Institutions are not going to be bidding any of that. And this is the S&P 500 equal weight. Look at the price performance. It's dire. This tells you that all of the price performance in the stock market is coming from AI and all of that build out and the capex, right? So Bitcoin isn't AI. Bitcoin represents much broader what the economy is doing. Normal people own this. Most people don't work in AI. So why would the price get a massive bid, right? That's the issue. The stock market is going higher. The Fed thinks that they need to raise interest rates. What are they looking at? They're destroying real companies, small and medium-sized businesses getting absolutely wrecked. Interest rates are way too high for them. But it is what it is. They want to do this, actually. They want to create this recession right here. They want to create higher unemployment. This is what they do. And they want that to happen so that they can drop interest rates and buy some bonds later on in the cycle. I think that's still coming, so I'm going to be holding through. October manufacturing is also very downbeat. Unpredictability of tariffs, that's downbeat. But to be honest, all of this is already done and sorted out, right? The trade deal with China has already happened and they've actually dropped some tariffs. So I think things are actually going to be getting better here, not worse. So we could be in kind of the worst point for sentiment, right? Government shutdown, that could get sorted in the next few weeks. This is all negative, but could get sorted as well as we come out and the trade deal is actually signed off. If you want to ask me questions about anything, you can send me some messages in the Discord group as part of the crypto course. I'll put the discount in the description below, so you can enter BTC at checkout. Bybit deposit bonus down below as well. I'm James' Money DG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.